I don't have a poem today. There's just far too much bad news. There's all the madness in Germany, an endless jihad against the Jews. But take heart and smile, I always say. In the end, the jihadis will lose. And that's this week in Jihad, ladies and gentlemen. I'm all tangled up in wires here. But we have exciting news. The YouTube people told me that there could be that I could be allowed to have super chats. I don't know if that's actually true because then when I tried to figure out how to do it, I'm not sure I did. So you tell me if they're there or not. I don't have any idea. But
I
anyway,
do see the super chat button, and I think Jack Ray tested it before we went live. I saw him test with a super chat.
well, superb. How about I find? Oh, I see. There's even a super chat category here.
Yep.
Wow, look at that. There it is. Thank you, Jack Ray, for the very first super chat of what now? 20 years of Jihad Watch video channel. Um,
Guys, everyone, you got 20 years worth of super chats to make up for it.
so anyway, here we go. Oops, hold on. Almost banned you there, Jack. And we got Jack here saying, Wing Nuts Unite. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. But we got lots of jihad, so we will get back to those later. Very exciting, though. Very exciting news. We've joined the 21st century. I don't
It
really
is.
know.
I have to say, I was not expecting that one.
Yeah, well, it's a weird thing, David. Um, this guy wrote me and he said, "Hey, do you want me to help you out? You can appeal being demonetized on YouTube." And I said, "Sure, yeah, no skin off my nose." It's been years now, ever since we started the channel, probably 20 years ago, that they banned us from any kind of monetization, and that means no super chats. Anyway, so this very helpful gentleman sent me some material, said send it to YouTube here. So I go over to YouTube where he sent me to send it, and it was like I'd never signed up at all. And I just signed up again, and they haven't flagged me yet. I don't know if this is a mistake because I've gotten several emails from them in the past saying you're demonetized, you heretic, But well, we'll see. We'll see what how this all shakes out.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I was like, yeah, you were demonetized, and I thought you would be so forever. You are
Yeah.
Robert Spencer, after all.
Next thing you know, I'm going to be doing the show from London.
That'd be awesome.
Yes, face to face with Mo Hijab. Yes, so anyway, very exciting news, but we got more exciting news here, David. Let's get right to it. There have been some big stories out of Germany, which is why I mentioned them in the non-poem poem. And I thought that one of the most interesting had to do with this guy, Mohammed, as his name is, oddly enough. And the German press always covers the face when it puts a picture up of somebody. So I think, well, what's even the point of putting up a picture? You can see he's a bearded person, but now that could just be so many different people. But in any case, this guy, he had a machete, and he was in an apartment. He got two girls into the apartment against his will, and he started brandishing the machete, and he said, where is it now? He said, "You're not leaving here until one of you has sex with me." All right, so he raped one of them, and now he is on trial. And this is where I think, David, it gets really wild. This is in Erfurt, in Germany, and he's an Afghan Muslim migrant, Mohammed S. And he says, "There are no good people in Germany. Animals are better than them. And if a human is an animal, it must be slaughtered." Now, where did he get that stuff? That doesn't sound very nice. Where did he get these ideas?
It sounds exactly like what the Quran says, and you've seen the video clips recently. We've seen Cenk Brancatella saying
Yes.
that actually being honest about what Islam teaches. Sheikh Uthman saying that we're lower than animals and so on. Now we've talked about this interesting transition over the past several years where everything we were saying in 2008 and 2010, everything we were saying that Islam teaches, we were called liars for, even though we're quoting directly out of the Quran and the Hadith. But now
Yep.
everything that we were called liars for saying 15 years ago, they now shout from the rooftops. So everything, child marriage, all this stuff, we're liars, you're lying about Islam, these liars. Now they openly acknowledge it and they're all defending it and so on. But also things like this we pointed out, because this is connected to everything. This is connected to jihad. This is connected to how they can just slaughter non-Muslims in the name of Allah. How they can take female captives. It's connected to the grooming gangs, why they treat 12-year-old non-Muslim girls like complete garbage. It's because the Quran says that's what non-Muslims are. 98.6, they are Jews, Christians, other non-Muslims are the worst of creatures. And you have other things comparing us to cattle, and so on. And yep, now you have guys who are just open about what it says, and the champions of Dawah are honest about it now. And of course, it's no surprise to see someone in Germany saying it.
I think it was wild to see Jake saying it, because Jake is a guy who lives as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, David, but as far as I know, Jake lives in the United States.
Nope, he moved.
Did he move to Morocco?
Moved to Morocco. I mean, that's what I heard.
Oh, that's okay then. Well, then more power to you, Jake, because I really didn't believe you when he said he said on that show, we were on the PBD show, and he said he was going to move to Morocco, and I said, oh, I was thinking, no way,
Yeah, they always say that. Yeah,
just like Hakikaju says, he wants to live under Sharia, but he can't, because everywhere he wants to move, the U.S. will bomb. And I mean, even Jake showed how idiotic that was on the show by pointing out that by saying he was going to move to Morocco, nobody's bombing Morocco. Nobody's bombing Afghanistan, for that matter. Yeah.
Hey, it's funny you're bringing up those great debate partners, Daniel and Jake, because they're mortal enemies now. All they do all day is attack each other as heretics and so on. And matter of fact, recently, so Jake called Daniel the biggest liar he's ever met, and then Fareed from Fareed Responds, aka Fareed Leaks. He's the one who leaked the Yasser Qadi emails where Yasser Qadi was acknowledging that the Quran hasn't been perfectly preserved, which led to the holes in the narrative interview. But Fareed also said that Daniel Hakikachu is the most compulsive liar he said he's the biggest compulsive liar he's ever seen, except for Christian Prince. And then Daniel brings up, he's like, what? So you're saying that David Wood and apostate prophet are not they don't lie as much as I do? And he goes, Fareed actually said it. He said, yes, these guys are wrong, and I exposed them, but they're not compulsive liars like you are. And it's like, gosh, these Dawah Wars 2025 is awesome.
He's got a point. I mean, we're telling the truth here, So, yeah, I actually have to confess, I saw Jake saying that Hakikaju was even worse than me. And I thought, wow, it's... I don't know what caused their falling out. They seemed to be pretty close when I met them, but
I'm just amazed that Daniel is such a big liar that he's having an impact on his fellow da'is to be honest. And they're like, "Yep, you're the biggest liar on the planet, and the kuffar, they got nothing on you, Budro."
It's a beautiful thing to see. Even they have to admit that they just lie all the time. Mm-hmm. All right, the other big story out of Germany comes from Berlin, where at the Holocaust Memorial, a Syrian Muslim refugee was carrying a prayer mat and a Quran and a paper with verses from the Quran in his backpack. Sounds like he got hold of my backpack somehow. And except for the prayer mat. And he went to the Holocaust Memorial. He said that he wanted to kill Jews. And he stabbed a Spanish tourist who is not Jewish, as far as I know. And so that is Germany this week. Meanwhile, we have quite a lot of news, of course, coming out of Israel. we missed last week. I'm sorry, I was a little under the weather and
We both were.
missed. That's right, and we missed the big party that they had in Gaza when they released the coffins of the four hostages, the two Bibas children, 4 years old and 10 months old, Ariel and Kafir, and their mother, who turned out not to be their mother at all, but some unidentified woman. Although they later released the remains of their poor mother, Sherry Bibas, along with Oded Lifshitz, who was an 83-year-old man who had been a peace activist, who had worked with the Palestinians, thinking that goodwill would be returned, would be reciprocated in kind. Anyway, one of the things that they, not only did they have the big party, of course, celebrating the murders of these civilians, complete with this post. You got to wonder how in this open air prison camp that's just been the subject of a genocide, they're able to churn out these massive posters. Somehow
Yeah,
the printing presses didn't get harmed.
yeah, they have a lot of technical capabilities. All the stuff they're cranking out.
Yep. And they're the four coffins that they returned. And they had this big party. Everybody's cheering. And they have it in English, of course, because they want us to be able to read it. And the propaganda continued after that. That is Shiri Bibas there. And she's been crudely photoshopped into an IDF uniform. And this was part of a Hamas communique justifying that they murdered this young mother of two young children. And they are equating her with IDF soldiers. As we have seen many times, Palestinian jihadis saying, there are no civilians in Israel. They're all soldiers. They're all part of the war against Islam.
Yeah, it would not surprise me at all if they Photoshop a picture of the baby and the little kid in IDF uniforms.
Yeah, what I was surprised about this, though, was how crude it is. I mean, that's like the most obvious Photoshop I've ever seen. And usually these people, I mean, this is the Palestinian propaganda machine. It's usually pretty sophisticated. I mean, of course, there's the buildings that are all rubble and dust everywhere, except for this untouched teddy bear that's in the middle of the rubble, and it's somehow not covered with dust and not harmed at all. But other than that, sometimes they put out pretty convincing productions. So I was kind of surprised that they did this so poorly. Maybe they're getting stretched with all the work that they have to do. All the many, many fake atrocities they have to fabricate. Meanwhile, this is Ahmet Davutoglu. You remember him? He was the, what was he, prime minister? Yeah, he was the former prime minister of Turkey. And Ahmet Davutoglu has a great idea. He says, look, Trump's talking about leveling Gaza, building a Trump Tower or whatever. And look, Gaza was part of the Ottoman Empire, and that means that the Gazans are Turkish citizens, and that this is Turkish land we're talking about. What do you think, David? I think, well, there are a lot of implications to that, especially for other countries that were part of the Ottoman Empire, like Greece.
Yeah, the Ottoman Empire was pretty big.
Yes.
And they lost World War I. Then they lost their caliphate. So they finally had no caliphate. But yeah, what's funny? It's kind of like, okay, they've got a better claim to it than the people who say we always had a Palestinian state, right? You've actually, at least if you say, hey, this was part of the Ottoman Empire, you have some connection to reality and aren't just making something up out of thin air. But it is interesting to say, okay, you lost the war, your land got divided up because you had a big empire and you used it to fight in World War I. Therefore, decades later, you get to say, "Oh, give me that back." Now we're Turkey. Pretty weird stuff. But it shows. I've got my suspicions about Turkey. Erdogan, he seems like he wants to get the caliphate back.
Oh yeah, he very much does, and that means Gaza, that means Israel, Lebanon, Greece, Saudi Arabia for that matter. Ha, this could get interesting. Meanwhile, excuse me, I'm sorry about the coughing. Meanwhile, we have Mahmoud Abbas. And now, with Hamas being drastically weakened and the Palestinian Authority not being that strong itself, 89-year-old Mahmoud Abbas, who is in the 19th year of his 4-year term as president of the Palestinian Authority, he has been called upon to stop paying the Jihad terrorists. You know that they have this pay-for-slay program where they pay prisoners, they pay relatives of jihadis who've been killed, and that way they encourage, of course, more terrorism. And he said that he would stop the payments to the West. That is, he said that. But then he went before his Revolutionary Council and he said, the stipends for prisoners and martyrs will be transferred as they are. I will not allow even 1 cent to be deducted from them, and you will not allow it either. This is my word which I stand by. If I even have 1 cent left, it will go to the prisoners and martyrs.
Well, he's got plenty of cents left.
Yeah, he's got more than 1 cent.
Yeah, talking about the monetary sense, not common sense, but well, I guess he's got some common sense because that would not go well, right? You tell all these jihadis who've been giving up their lives so that their families can get paid by these billionaires and stuff like that. Oh yeah, you know what? We're not paying you anymore. It's not going to go well.
Indeed. Yeah, that would be a lot of trouble. He would be looking at getting overthrown, and obviously this is a guy who very much wants to stay in power, or he would not have maintained without an election, maintained himself in power for, what is it now, almost 15 years beyond his elected term of office. Meanwhile, we heard from Hamas leader Musa Abu Marzouk. And Musa Abu Marzouk, David, he's sad this week. And he said this. I thought this was very interesting. If it was expected that what happened would happen, there wouldn't have been October 7th. And he said that it was unacceptable to say that Hamas won, given the scale of what Israel inflicted on Gaza. He said, we're talking about a party that lost control of itself and took revenge against everything. That is not a victory under any circumstances. What's he trying to do? Is he actually declaring that they lost? They never do that.
Yeah, I mean, it is refreshing to hear some little bit of common sense coming from anyone associated with Hamas. But I mean, it is completely insane, Robert. I mean, you could get these guys if they went and killed 1 Jew and the result was completely leveling Gaza, they'd be like, totally worth it. Totally worth it. We won. We got a Jew. We killed a Jew. Yeah. We lost thousands of people and our entire territory got leveled down to rubble, but totally worth it. Shows you like how exalted the Jews are in their mind, that like killing 1 Jew is worth retaliation against thousands of your people in their mind. That's how exalted the Jews are in their minds. But yeah, you'd like to hear more. You'd like to hear more people going, guys, is this really worth it? Why? Because when they're sitting here cheering, yes, what a great victory this is, they're aiming towards the future, right? They're aiming towards the next attack. They're trying to rile everyone up. Hey guys, this is what victory looks like. Yes, we go and we kill some of them, and then they blow us down to smithereens again.
And this was actually almost happened this week, because we had the bus explosions in Tel Aviv. That 3 buses exploded at 9 p.m. on whatever night it was, last Thursday night.
Is that the one where they accidentally set PM instead of AM and screwed everything up?
That's it, man. And it was discovered that there were, I believe, 11 buses in all that were wired. And so the idea was to hit 11 buses all at once during morning rush hour. They could have ended up killing as many people as they did on October 7th. So this was supposed to be a new October 7th in the middle of this alleged ceasefire.
That is that's actually pretty terrifying that they screwed it up, but if they had just known how to set clocks correctly, then they could have been successful in killing tons and tons of people again.
Indeed.
Even with all the security dialed up and so on.
Meanwhile, it's almost Lent, and
Almost
so
Ramadan.
almost
What?
Ramadan too, and it's carnival time in many places, and so jihadis circulated threats. This was just the last couple days, I believe, or this morning. Circulated threats against the carnival in Germany, in Nuremberg. I'm not sure that's Nuremberg or not. It's not all that clear. Two of them in Cologne, and then in the Netherlands, one in Rotterdam. And so, of course, what's the idea behind all this?
Well, all religion has to be for Allah, Robert.
Oh yeah,
And so as soon as we've talked about this many times, these guys want to impose Sharia as much as they can in any given context. They're usually no longer in a position to actually conquer people and impose Sharia in all its blood spattered glory. So you do it as much as you can. You complain and whine and get people to change their what's on the menu and things like that, and get constantly complain. Oh, look, you're in our faces. You're hurting our feelings with all this religious stuff. Just dial it down. Especially during Ramadan, we should all be celebrating Ramadan. And so, anyway, I do predict 2025 funnest Ramadan ever, Robert.
it's gonna be great. Strap
It's gonna
in,
be
be
awesome.
ready, folks. But meanwhile, they're getting ready for Ramadan in Syria, David. And of course, Syria has just been taken over by Sunni jihadis after being ruled by the Alawite dynasty of Assad, in any case, for gosh, what, 30, 40, 50 years.
Been a while.
Because Assad was there in Hafiz Assad was there from the 70s, and
Been
then
a
his
minute.
son took over around 2000. And so, yeah, probably about 50 years for these people. But anyway, they're gone. The Sunni jihadis are in charge, and the government is now reviving a law, an old law, that punished people for not observing the Ramadan fast. And it's going to force Christian owned restaurants to close for all 30 days of Ramadan. Because as we used to be told in the early days of doing this, David, you may recall, Sharia only applies to Muslims and never impinges upon the lives and practices of non-Muslims.
Yeah, that's what we hear from Western politicians and Western journalists and from Western Muslim organizations, but for some reason never hear from Muslims who actually have the ability to impose their rules on non-Muslims.
And in Latakia, a very largely Christian area, the excuse me, the jihadis have forbidden music. Now, have we not been told 100,000 times that the idea that Islam forbids music is an Islamophobic notion that has nothing to do with real Islam, but it's something that you and I made up?
Yeah, we made it up by reading their sources, and then apparently we made some time machines fueled by 1.21 gigawatts of Islamophobia and traveled back and inserted all this stuff into their sources.
Indeed. It was a good job. We did a good job of it, because you would never know from the sources nowadays that those things weren't always in there. I'm still impressed with the quality of the work. What happened to the? I'm sorry, folks. I had a picture. I had a picture here because I have a note saying I had a picture here, but I don't have the picture here. Anyway, this is there was a story out of Syria also of Richard Engel, who is an NBC reporter, and he went to a refugee camp in Syria, and he was sort of appalled because these little kids started holding up the one finger and throwing rocks at him and saying Allahu Akbar, which he spectacularly misinterprets in some way. Let me see if I have it here. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, he's saying, it's It's a statement of religious dedication or something like that. He doesn't have any idea what he's really dealing with, of course. But these kids, they are the children of Islamic State jihadis. And it's clear that they're being raised up in the same beliefs in the refugee camps.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting. A lot of people think ISIS is, of course, a thing of the past, but we have
Nope.
not by any means heard the last of it. Meanwhile, if our friend Jake is really in Morocco, maybe he can meet up with these guys. The Islamic State in the Sahel. And they are, of course, linked to ISIS as well as Al Qaeda activity in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. And it was a 12-member cell in Morocco plotting. They had instructions from an ISIS leader in Libya, and they were plotting to target places in Morocco and elsewhere. And so it's interesting because, you usually hear about Morocco being moderate and so on, although our friend Rashid, who grew up there, has a more realistic view. Nonetheless, I think most Westerners think Morocco is where everybody's reasonable and it's all fine. But there is Islamic State activity going on there.
And that's an ongoing issue. Places that are remotely moderate are targets for jihadis as well. So that's why all these, oh look, but I have a Muslim friend who's so peaceful, therefore Islam's not a problem. Yeah, if your Muslim friend is genuinely peaceful, then he would be given an opportunity to change his tune real quick, or he would be a target as well.
Yep.
And so, yep, doesn't solve the problem of what Islam is, ladies and gentlemen.
Indeed. All right. Big story out of the Congo, of course, Democratic Republic of the Congo, that was excuse me, was unusual, David, in the sense that it got a lot of attention. I was hearing from so many people this week. Say, did you hear? 70 Christians were beheaded in a church. They were captured by the Allied Democratic Forces, which is an ISIS group in Central Africa, and then taken into a church where they were all bound and beheaded. What is surprising about it to me, David, is that we hear all about this one for whatever reason. And yet, how many times have we covered similar stories out of Africa, out of Congo, Nigeria, Somalia, Mozambique, and elsewhere on this program?
Lots. We've covered. We've said before that we could do This Week in Jihad just about Nigeria by itself. You could have a weekly program just about what happens in Nigeria because it's that frequent and consistent. Also, many other places in Africa, but Western news agencies just don't draw attention to these and aren't interested in reporting that. That one, interestingly, Fox actually eventually put out a story and Elon shared it. So that actually, that helped it online.
Yeah. Well, you got to hand it to Elon. David, I mentioned at the debate, if you don't know, David and I debated on the burning question of did Muhammad exist? And you can find the debate on YouTube if you have not yet seen it. It was indeed an exciting and action-packed debate. That legendary. People are still talking about it. It was at Modern Day Debate Con in Newark, New Jersey last week. And anyway, while I was there, I told David that just signed an agreement to do a new book on Islam's treatment of women, and with particular focus on the rape gangs in Britain. And getting that going, that should be out actually in the fall. They moved the other book to come later, so that book should be out this fall. This book about the rape gangs and so on. But I've totally forgotten why I brought this up. Actually, there was some reason. Now that I've brought it up though, and I've forgotten the reason, I will note a story out of the UK that's sort of a stupid infidel story, and it'll probably come back to me I apologize, people. I'm not working at 100% this week, but bear with me. And thank you for all your kindness and support. And we'll get to all those super chats before we are done here. David, can you stay a little longer and we'll go through all those?
Sure.
We'll break the hour barrier. Anyway, I got to put this one up now.
No, don't look. Don't look.
And Rick Martell says, Robert, did you lose any respect for David after humiliating him at DebateCon? Anyway,
No, the only respect lost was for you, Rick Martell.
This is a survivor of the Muslim rape gangs in Britain. And she was speaking on television this past week. And she noted that at the time of the offenses, she went to the police. And the police told her not to say anything about it. They actually tried to intimidate her into silence and borderline threatened her. So that is the kind of thing that the victims of this have been up against.
Yeah, and that was you're talking years ago for some of these crimes, and that was when the Muslim population of Great Britain was like 3 or 4% and so on, and they were doing this back then. And now it's higher. What do you think? What do you think things are going to be like when it's 20% and you can't say one word about anything a Muslim's done, or buildings will be burned down? So, guys, here's what's messed up, Robert. As horrifying as it is to look back at the grooming gangs and what happened, that's going to be a joke compared to the future. It's like that's going to be nothing. That's going to be nothing. These guys did have to keep it somewhat quiet. In the future, it's the same thing. They'll be able to shout it from the rooftops. Yeah, we're banging all your 12-year-olds. What are you going to do about it? And you won't even be able to say one word about it.
Look at Pakistan. In Pakistan, there's a tiny Christian minority, and the Christian girls, Hindu girls, routinely are kidnapped, raped, forced to convert to Islam, married to a Muslim, often to the rapist, and then they raise Muslim children. And the idea is to increase the Muslim community at the expense of the non-Muslim community. So this is the same thing that's going to be happening in Britain. And the authorities, when this happens in Pakistan, they don't do anything because they're Muslims as well. And if they cared, they could get killed. And mostly they don't care because they sympathize with the attackers.
Yeah, every once in a while, every few years, we'll hear where the police actually tried to stand their ground and do something, and those precincts get burned to the ground by the mob.
Yep,
that's what you can't do anything, and that's guess what? Those are literally the exact same people that Great Britain has been saying we can't get enough of you. Hey, all you guys who where you come from culturally, you could just walk up and take a non-Muslim and do whatever you want with her. We need millions of you in the UK, and that's what they've been doing.
And so they brought him in. All right, in France, interesting story out of France. I loved this one. This guy went into a mosque in France, in the Ar-Rahma Mosque in Haute-Pierre, Haute Pierre, Haute-Pierre. Anyway, he wrote a book called At the Heart of Islam in France, 3 years of infiltration in 70 French mosques. And so he shoots a video in this mosque where the imam is explaining to the Muslims that women do not have a right to say no to their husbands, but have to have sex with them anytime they want. All right? And so now this video has come out because this guy's written this book and he's putting his material out there, and the mosque has dismissed the imam. They fired the guy. What's going on here, David?
I don't know. That's a little confusing because that comes right from the Muslim sources.
Well, I think that what they're trying to do is give the impression that it doesn't come from the Muslim sources, and that this guy is some kind of extremist.
Literally directly from Muhammad.
No, but they're trying to give the French authorities the impression by firing the imam that he was out of line. that he's just some nut who said something crazy. And they don't want the French authorities to get the idea, oh, this is basic Islam. This is what Muhammad said.
Wild stuff. Yep, Muhammad said doesn't matter. You could be cooking at the stove. If your husband says get over here and get naked, you do it instantly. And then of course you have if you don't obey your husband, like of course he has a right to beat you over that sort of thing. But if you don't, and to starve you, all kinds of things. But if you don't, at the very least, if you make your husband unhappy, then the angels curse you all night until morning. That's what the angels are busy doing. It's like,
Yes, and then if the angels are cursing you all night until morning, then you'll hang by your hair upside down in hell once you're dead. So it's really it's bad either way.
sucks to be you.
Yep. All right, we got Germany. Interesting story out of Germany. Fred Mertz is going to be chancellor. Do you remember Fred Mertz? You ever see the show I Love Lucy from the 50s? He was Ricky Ricardo's friend, Fred Mertz, bald guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, somehow he's become chancellor of Germany. And actually his name is, Friedrich Mertz. Not the same Fred Mertz.
Terrible joke. But, you actually had me going. I was like, gosh, he'd have to be really old right now, man. That guy's a legend.
Yeah, 120 years old. But anyway, so lots of jihad in Germany. We started with it today. There's more all the time. It's practically on a daily basis. So the AfD, the alternative for Deutschland, the AfD, the alternative for Germany, they have been campaigning to stop the mass migration. And they finished a strong second in the polling, but second doesn't really get anywhere in elections, you know? And so the people who won were the CDU, the Christian Democrat Union, which is the traditional conservative party in Germany. And Friedrich Merz promised all this time that he would close the border and restrict immigration. And so he was able to take a lot of the wind out of the sails of the AfD by stealing their issue. But the first thing he did after he won the election was to say, nobody's talking about closing the border. We're not going to close any border. And now they're bringing in 3,000 Afghans. Not blankets, but people from Afghanistan.
Well, it's good. It's good because, I mean, what could go wrong with Afghanis in Germany? It's not like they ever randomly decide to go on stabbing sprees and so on. But no, it makes sense. It makes sense. We're familiar with empty campaign promises to get elected, Robert, and then what happens as soon as you're elected? You can switch to let's bring in as many people who are going to be our future voters as possible. And Germany's got some problems right now. So the AfD skyrocketed in popularity until they became the number 2 party, but all the other parties have agreed not to work with the AfD. Mm-hmm. But now you don't have your second biggest party, and you have to form a majority. And so they need 3 groups. They need 3 of these groups all working together. And the 3 groups that are going to be working together to form an alliance, they don't agree on almost anything, which means they're not going to be able to get anything done, which means this government's going to collapse again. They're going to have new elections. And by that time, the AfD will be will receive 25 or 30% of the votes and so on. And so anyway, very interesting, this little back and forth they've got going on now.
Yeah. So the story's not over. Germany's not dead yet, but it doesn't look good right now. Meanwhile, here's a look into the future of Germany and maybe the rest of the West. Over in Malaysia, moderate country there, David. Everybody knows the Malaysians. They're moderate, tolerant, peaceful, benign. 61 Muslims have been arrested for insulting Islam. 52 cases led to prosecution in court. And these were specifically Sharia cases. They were not insulting rulers who were Muslims or something like that. They were insulting Islam. 61 people arrested, 52 put on trial in moderate Malaysia. And we have to remember this, when we're talking about hate speech laws and being tolerant and so on, and restricting burning the Quran as Sweden has already done. We're talking about ending up like that story in Malaysia, with people getting arrested for doing what we're doing right now.
That's the goal. It's always interesting how Western leaders have the same goal, has the same goal as the purveyors of Sharia, just slightly different penalties.
Yep.
But they have the exact same agenda. They're 100% on board with each other.
And so it just keeps going, David. In Austria, we have a 14-year-old boy, a 14-year-old, and instead of I don't know what do 14-year-olds do these days, playing video games, he is planning an attack on a railroad station in Vienna, and he had ISIS material on his TikTok profiles. They also searched his home. They found multiple knives and machetes. 14 years old, David. He was going to attack the Westbahnhof in Vienna, big train station.
It's actually good that he's young, because 14, you've definitely got the courage to do something stupid, but at the same time, you're still pretty stupid, right? Until you get caught. If he'd waited another 6 years, he might have been smarter and not got caught.
And yet, what's he going to do in 6 years? He's going to get out of jail, probably sooner than 6 years. He's going to have all his experience of dealing with the fellow Muslims in jail. He's probably going to be more of a jihadi than he was already.
Oh, absolutely. And this is not from the perspective of Islam. This is the perspective of someone who went to jail and prison. Yet you run into other people, other like-minded people, and so on, and start forming alliances. I had people in the jail. I'm talking like right after I got locked up, who would be like, "Yeah, man, you're smart. If you plan it, we'll do it." It's like they wanted me to be like lead their gang. I come up with the plan, and they go and carry it out and stuff like that. But guess what? That's what jihadis are doing right now, right? You have these guys, They get the idea in their heads, and they go and try something, and then they get locked up. Man, I really screwed up. Okay, well, let's be smarter about this next time, and let's coordinate.
And that's what the Western authorities are just letting it happen. There is no prison in anywhere in Europe or North America that I know of, and I really don't think that there's one that I don't know about that has some kind of is making any kind of effort to stop dawah in the prisons.
Oh, and people don't realize how extremely bad this is. We've talked about it before, but you had these people who go off to join ISIS and so on, and some of them got huge sentences and so on, and some of them end up in the camps and so on. But a lot of them just came back to their own countries, and for a lot of them, the governments don't know what they did, but apart from going and joining this organization, and so they give them pretty light sentences of 8 years or 10 years or something. Guess what? These are the guys who've been going home now after spending years. So they get trained by ISIS, and then they're in prison recruiting an army behind prison doors. And that's actually easy to deal with if you're not an idiot. If you're a government, it's pretty easy. Okay, if we even think you got anything to do with jihad, you're on isolation the entire time you're here. That's what you're doing here. Under no circumstances do we let you collaborate with other people, and under no circumstances do we give you any access to people that you are going to intimidate into converting or radicalize. You are kept apart from everyone else. It's pretty straightforward, but all the Western governments are like, no, that would be Islamophobic. That would be Islamophobic. So you can't do that. So okay, so you don't want to be Islamophobic. So what do? You let these guys build an army behind the scenes. These guys are preparing for the future.
Yep.
Right. They're preparing for what ISIS did in the Middle East. They're preparing for that in the UK and in Germany and in France. They're preparing for a future of that. and you're letting them because you don't want to be called names. Exact same situation as the grooming gangs. We don't want to be called names, so we'll let all these horrors keep on going.
That's it. Yeah, I was just working on the book before the show and going through all that they didn't want to be called racist, they didn't want to be called Islamophobic, so they just let thousands of girls' lives be destroyed. But of course, they were thinking about it in terms of their own skin, that it was face professional ruin, getting fired, not only getting fired, getting their names dragged through the press as a racist, so they'd never be hired by anybody else. And this is the situation that made for these people not being too afraid to say anything. Anyway, out of France, David, I should have said this one right after the Congo one, and I got distracted. The Congo, of course, as we discussed, 70 Christians were murdered, beheaded in a church, in accord with the Quran's command, when you meet the unbelievers, strike the necks. All right, so in Mulhouse, France, there was a demonstration in support of the Congo. And at this demonstration, a guy came up screaming Allahu Akbar, and he attacked a couple of cops with a knife. A guy tried to intervene, 69-year-old man, and he was killed by this guy screaming Allahu Akbar from Algeria. And so apparently he took exception to these people showing some kind of sympathy for the victims of the jihad in Congo. The jihadis expect that the infidels will just submit quietly and not protest their fate.
That is the world they love. And for some reason, we love giving them the world they want. Or they do whatever they want, and everyone keeps their mouths shut about it.
That is the world they want. All right, in Germany also, another one out of Germany, a Chechen migrant named Ahmed, 18 years old. He plotted an attack against the Israeli embassy in Berlin. And he tried to flee for Istanbul when he was caught, but they got him, David. So he's going to get a little dawa for a few years.
A little prison dawa.
Yep.
Sentenced to prison dawa.
Everything will be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing. Here's another one I was going to follow up on. Sorry about this. This one goes with the party, the coffin party that Hamas put on in Gaza when they returned the bodies of the 4 hostages, or 3 of the hostages, plus a decoy, and then later returned her. It was widely circulated that the Grand Muftis, you may have seen it, the Grand Muftis of Saudi Arabia and the UAE condemned what had happened. What we saw today in Gaza is a disgrace to Islam, an act of blasphemy against Allah. That's the Grand Mufti of Saudi Arabia, Abdulaziz bin Abdullah al-Sheikh. That's what he's supposed to have said anyway. And the Grand Mufti of Dubai, Ahmed al-Haddad, said Hamas has brought shame to Islam on a level never seen before. Now, both of these have been denied. It doesn't seem as if either one of these muftis said these things. So in the first place, you had people forging moderate Islam, faking it, and this was very widely spread around. I don't know if you're familiar with the historian Simon Sebag Montefiore. I've read some of his books. I think he wrote a biography of Stalin and some other books that I've read. Very fine historian, and he was tweeting one of these and saying, this is great to see, that finally we see Muslims standing up against Hamas. But it turned out it was all fake. Not only was it all fake, David, but think about what these guys said, or were supposed to have said, that how Hamas behaved was a disgrace to Islam, brought shame on Islam. Does that actually mean that what they did was bad?
No, you could do exactly what the Muslim sources say and bring shame on Islam if you kind of expose it to what it actually is to the unbelievers.
Exactly. So in the first place, whoever forged these things was very clever because they didn't even have these people condemning the actions. They were only saying, "You've made Islam look bad. That's no good." And even that was too much. But it's very important to note that this was widely assumed to be a condemnation of what Hamas had done, and it was not. It was only a condemnation of their making Islam look bad by doing it. Meanwhile, we have lots of stupid infidels. We've already hit a few, but you know that there's a new adaptation, a new movie of William Tell. The story of William Tell. Actually, the only thing I know about William Tell is that isn't he the guy that shot an apple off a guy's head with an arrow, or maybe he had the apple on his head. I don't know. And there's an overture, the William Tell overture. Isn't that the Lone Ranger theme? But anyway, there's a movie now, and William Tell apparently is a real guy from the 14th century in Switzerland. All right, and so in making a movie about this semi-legendary character from the 14th century in Switzerland, they have added all these Muslims to the story who were not in the story. And so William Tell has a wife who's played by an Iranian actress, when usually she's portrayed by a Swiss lady because she was a Swiss lady. But in this case, in this production, he's married to a Muslim from Iran. And there is another Muslim, a character called named First. I don't know what the character is supposed to be in the story, but not a Muslim. It's just one of William Tell's people around him. And that one is played by Amar Shada Patel as a warrior from the Middle East. Oh, I see. It's usually a in the story, it's supposed to be a Catholic priest from Switzerland, and they made him into a Muslim warrior from the Middle East. And so the new William Tell movie is going to make everybody very happy because it's got Muslims in the story, and the producers of the film want us to know that actually Switzerland in the 14th century was very diverse.
Mm-hmm. And let's be honest, pretty much belongs to Muslims.
Well, nowadays, yeah. So there you go. But do you think in 1307 they had a lot of Muslims in Switzerland?
Well, it's sometimes you just need to rewrite history. We got Muslims saying they were the first ones in Australia, and they were the first ones in America, and so why not help them a little bit? Just looking up this
Indeed.
William Tell.
Yeah, I don't know much about him. I should have looked him
Legendary folk hero of Switzerland.
There you go.
Expert mountain climber and marksman with a crossbow.
Now, why didn't they call it Muhammad William Tell? I don't know.
Yeah, they should. Muhammad Abdullah Tell.
All right. We have a couple other stories out of the UK. Men on the street interview. Guy goes up with a microphone and video to 3 Afghan migrants who were walking along on the street. I don't know if you saw this. And he asks them where they're staying. And they say, we're staying in a nice hotel, and we don't have to pay for anything.
Nice.
So, yeah.
It's the posh traveling life.
I think that maybe I'll become an illegal migrant in Afghanistan, and they'll certainly put me up in the same way, right? Mm-hmm. So a turnabout is fair play. And there's some controversy about the BBC, because the BBC put up a documentary about Gaza, and in it they didn't mention that all these people they were interviewing were actually Hamas. They said, and now we'll talk to Ahmed here on the street in Gaza. And they didn't say, his uncle is a leading Hamas operative or whatever.
Oh, they had to make up all kinds of things to cover up the familial relationships. Like everyone involved is connected to Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
And then the entire documentary is nothing but Hamas propaganda. It's just amazing because they put this out, and it's actually a real journalist who said, "Look, I just went and just did the research on this stuff. Look at this." This is all Hamas. This is all Hamas stuff that the BBC just put out. Look how easy it was for me to look up all these connections and look up, oh, this guy's uncle's this guy's dad is this, and so on. And at first, they just tried to issue kind of a, oh, we found out that some of the details may be wrong. And fortunately, they ended up taking down the whole thing.
And even worse, they deliberately mistranslated where a lot of the Gazans were talking about the Jews.
Killing the
Jews. We have to kill the Jews in Jihad. And they said...
Yeah. The Israeli fighters.
Yes, we have to fight the Israeli forces, they had in the subtitles. So the thing has been taken down, but only under pressure. And I'll close up with this, but then we'll go to the exciting new second part of the program and get to the Super Chats. But you may remember Martin Frost. And Martin Frost is a guy who burned the Quran in Britain a few weeks ago in protest after Salwan Momika was murdered in Sweden. And Martin Frost was arrested by British police. As you could see,
is that the guy
they
doxed?
Yeah, and they gave his address out and so on. But not only that, but I heard this morning from a Metropolitan Police officer in London. And he said, my name is, well, whatever, and I'm a police officer for the Metropolitan Police in the UK. And he said, I'm a fan of your work since being introduced to David Wood's YouTube channel by a pastor after having endured a heated monologue from a Muslim apologist who I used to work under just before lockdown. Anyway, I thought you might find it interesting to know that I spoke with one of the officers who I believe was involved with the arrest of the man who burnt the Quran outside a mosque in London and the man who stabbed him. The officer told me that they had no plans to arrest the Quran burner who burnt his own copy because he did so with no one around, if I remember correctly. Oh, I realize now because he said the man who stabbed him. This is not Martin Frost at all. I apologize, Martin. This is the other guy who burned the Quran outside the Turkish embassy. And he was a Turk himself, but he's disenchanted.
The guy ran out. The guy came out of the building and flipped out and stabbed him.
Yeah. Anyway, he says, and this is where the man who burnt the Quran was kept in custody while the man who stabbed him was freed. Anyway, this police officer goes on. He says, and the officer told me they had no plans to arrest the Quran burner who burnt his own copy because he did so with no one around, if I remember correctly, and they believed his actions to be part of free speech. But once the senior leadership based at Charing Cross heard about the Quran burning, they insisted he needed to be arrested for racially aggravated public order, despite the fact that there's no racial element of opposing a religious ideology. A decision was made to charge and remand the Quran burning man, whereas the man who stabbed him was bailed. So it comes straight from an officer in the Metropolitan Police that they wanted this arrest. They did it on purpose. And the police had originally been planning not to arrest this man at all. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever, the Jihad Watch Super Chats. Here we go. EANDM Creation says, Sheba Dog raises and lower. What does that mean? That's
not him. If you see super sticker, here's an issue, Robert. They can post stickers, and they're little, sometimes little animated things and so on.
Oh.
But Ecamm, if you try to post it, will just give a description of what it is.
Oh, that's charming. Okay, so there's your description. But thank you for the super sticker, and thank you for the dog raising and lowering his index finger. Apostate of Allah says, "Yay, I concur." This is quite a surprise. I don't know how long it'll last, people. Let's not get our hopes up too high, because I think it might be just somebody's mistake. On the other hand, Facebook suddenly decided it liked freedom of speech, or at least it says it did. So you never know, something might happen.
I'm actually I'll probably do this here in the next couple of weeks, but I'm going to go back on Facebook. I left Facebook. Probably like 4 years ago. Just got sick of this stupid random. I mean, the final straw, it was all like this, but I mean, it would be things like a keyboard jihadi would send me a threat saying, "I'm going to kill you, you dumb kuffar." And then I would just take a screenshot and then say, "Hey, look at what this guy said to me." And they would ban me for pointing out what the guy said. And so I just got so sick of that. And then the final straw was there's that famous picture of that guy where the Nazis did a rally at the shipyard, and they made everyone give a salute, and one guy stands there with his arms crossed and won't give the salute. I put a circle around that guy, and I said, "Be this guy, right?" And they banned me for a week over that. And I was like, I'm not staying on this stupid
because they're
platform,
Nazis.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. Be the guy who would not instantly bow to Nazis. Whoa, we can't have this. We can't have this on this site. We want everyone to bow instantly. And so anyway,
exactly it.
Anyway, but now if they're actually changing, Robert, I believe in second chances, so I might actually give these guys a second chance.
All right, we got Onyx Codex. Thank you. It's working. Yes, it does seem to be, at least for now. Hey, sup? What's up, Jeffrey Anderson?
What's up, Jeffrey?
What's up, dog? Did I say that right?
It's pretty much the worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life, Rob.
Thank you. I'll work to lower it next week. Let's go, Ray. Yes, you are the king. Nat Jackson says 10 pounds. Oh, 10 pounds. How capital. Thank you, Nat. And we have... Hey, David, from Christian Theology and Apologetics. Hey, David, when's your next stream with AP?
I believe tomorrow. AP messaged me earlier and said, hey, can we go live tonight? I said, nope, I'm doing This Week in Jihad. He says, how about tomorrow? And I said, yep, that works. So, in theory. But sometimes AP asks if I'm free tomorrow, but then doesn't actually set one up. But sounds like he wants to go live.
Check out if AP and David tomorrow night, folks, and see if they're there. Moshe Cohen says, next step, community members monthly. I don't even know what that is, but I'll look into it.
Oh, yeah, you could get channel members.
Channel members, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, I'll look into it. This is all new to me. I've never looked into it before because it was always blocked off. Dilbert, or E. Dilbert, says 10 SGD. Thank you for the SGD. What's an SGD?
It sounds like a venereal disease, but...
Yes. Well, he sent me 10 of them, so yikes. All right, we got a good job from Jesse. Thank you, Jesse. We have Jack Ray saying... Am I doing this right, by the way, David? I don't even know.
Yes.
Jack Ray
you can change the size of that, and you can move it around and stuff like that. But yeah, all that's minor stuff. And Jack Ray's the one who gave you your first super chat before we started.
Thank you, Jack. And he says, for Muslims, the flood of apostasy. Yes, for Spencer, the flood of super chats. Yes, we're moving right along here, though. Pat's leather straps.
The avalanche.
YouTube gave you super chats because David Wood ruined your book. Well, I think you should all read the book now and decide. Read the book, watch the debate again, and decide. All right, we have E4 Mafia. Some shekels for you, Robert. Yes, from my Zionist masters. They still haven't come through with the checks. This will make up for that. David Shipman. Chitty chatty. Yep. Oh, you got some shekels right there. Here. Nice.
Got the shekels. I always got the shekels.
Looks like a euro.
Nope, it's a shekel.
It's funny though. Doesn't it look like a euro?
A little bit.
I see that it says shekels. Yep. There you go. I have no shekels myself. I'm shekelless. Chitty chatty bang bang. Thank you. I guess.
No, that was when I said the posh traveling life.
Oh,
that's
there you go.
Chitty bang bang.
Oh, see, you're way ahead of me. I should know that because I only watch movies that are 50-some years old. But
it's one of the only things I remember from the movie because that was a long time ago. But he's like in an outhouse. He's like I don't know if it was a shed or an outhouse. It was a long time ago. But it gets picked up, I think, by the car, and he's like in this little outhouse or shed that he lives in and stuff. And he starts singing about the posh traveling life.
Dick Van Dyke?
No, it's an old man. There's the old man. He's like he's like his dad or grandpa or something like this. But anyway, he gets hooked by the car, and then he's getting carried in like his outhouse or shed or whatever. It's just this random raggedy little shack and stuff. But he's bragging the entire time. It's the posh traveling life. The traveling life for me. He's just bragging about how great his life is. So I always thought that was awesome.
Hey, that's great. Yeah.
Reminds me of the song King of the Road. King of the Road. Remember the song King of the Road,
Yeah,
Robert?
sure. Trailers for sale or rent.
Yeah, and the song's about a
Rooms
hobo.
to
The song's
let,
about a hobo.
50
Just
cents.
it's a hobo, but he's reveling in his freedom and stuff, and it's
Yeah.
just awesome.
Except he ain't got no cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Veritology, congratulations on the super chat. Thank you, thank you. Love your work. Thank you. God bless you, and you as well. Not a Simich says $2. Thank you, Not a Simich. I don't think you're nothing. Andrew Morgan says, if the trajectory continues, you will be the UK Prime Minister. That's right. First super chats, then the world. That would be great. I would love to be UK Prime Minister. Tell them, all right, all of you stop talking like that. 154 from Reed Martin. Thank you, Reed Martin. Vishnu says, 199, is Europe seeing the reality? No. Where is it heading? Nowhere good. But you never know. It ain't over. It ain't over till it's over. Obviously, Europe is waking up far more than it has been. The fact that the AFD got 20%, was it 20% of the vote, I think?
It was 20.7, I believe.
That's astonishing. They've never gotten that much before. So it's very late. It's going to be tough. But they still have a chance to turn this around. Jack Ray, once again, says, Robert Spencer's super chats be upon him. That's good. I like that. That can go with the poems. That write a poem like it. That Jewish ex-spy in the chat says, Robert, I've been following Jihad Watch. When I began working counterterrorism in 2002, did you see Trump trolling Hamas with Trump Gaza AI video? Yeah, I think that one of Trump's genius things is that people don't appreciate is that he has a sense of humor. And everybody gets all upset and says, what? He's going to build a casino in Gaza? And they get all
those
enraged.
dancing girls and stuff.
He's kidding around, people. You lighten up. But anyway. One thing you got to say about Trump. Also, excuse me, if I can say it before I keel over here, is that his plan about the U.S. taking over Gaza, it's kind of crazy, and yet what he has done is open up the discussion. Mm-hmm. Everybody was assuming that Hamas would go back in charge and everything would go back to the way it was before, or the PA would take over, and everything would be the way it was before. And he's saying you can't have it the way it was before. That's not going to happen. We have to have some new arrangement, and that you got to commend him for that.
And what he likes to do is like horrify people with his offer to get things stirred up. But that's really sort of clearing a path for some other solution down the road.
Indeed. Okay, Rex Danger says, the coins from the debate have been puzzling me. I can't think of a way to honestly explain around it. Early Muslims, shirk good. Well, yeah, the coins, I'm assuming you're talking about the coins that have Muhammad and the cross on them. Muhammad is a title, the praised one. It's probably referring to Jesus or to the ruler that's on the coin, which was likely Muawiyah, who's being praised. And the cross is there because you got a lot of Christians in this territory, and you don't have Islam yet. It doesn't exist yet. And so they don't have ringing in their ears the idea of Jesus coming back and breaking the cross. And so they got no problem with these coins. But David, you were on the other side of the debate, so you explain it.
Actually pretty easy. You apparently expect a level of consistency in Islam that I've never come to expect at any point in my entire life.
Consistency, okay, but everything is oriented toward Islam. They never make concessions or outreach or be nice to the kuffar. And so the idea that, and I've seen Islamic apologists say it, that, they were just ruling with a light touch and putting crosses on the coins because they had a lot of Christians in their domains. Well, how come that practice entirely disappeared from Islam after that? And everywhere else for 1,400 years, you can read it in the history of Jihad, they were crushing the Christians and making them submit. And nowhere did they put crosses anyway. They didn't even allow the Christians to have crosses on their churches. They could have them on the inside, but you notice that the Middle Eastern churches didn't have big crosses on the outside. And there's a reason for that.
You don't realize every time a Muslim theologian changes his position, they rewrite history.
I thought you were going to say an angel gets his
I
wings.
just did. Yeah, that too.
Yes. Anyway, okay, they rewrite history, but I got the real history in the history of jihad, and they were never so nice to the Christians anywhere. All right, Cheryl R says, "Woot woot, joining late, so playing catch up on 1.5 speed. Hello, Cheryl. How are you? Glad you're monetized. Also happy you both look and sound like you're feeling better. I don't know how
I
you
don't
can
know what
say
you've
that.
been watching, Cheryl,
Yeah,
because we're sounding pretty rough here.
over here coughing and hacking here. I don't
We've
know.
both been sick since we got what we both picked up some terrible germs in Newark, New Jersey,
Yeah,
because it's basically the butthole of the entire United States.
you see,
Mm-hmm.
it must have been Allah. Anyway, John West, God sees man, needs a companion, takes a rib and makes woman. Man, SH, don't know what that means, takes a wolf and makes a dog. What does that mean?
Um, let's see. God sees man needs a companion, takes a rib and makes a woman, and then man at some point takes a wolf and then makes a dog after many
Thanks, John. I don't really know what
generations.
that's all about, but I love you anyway. All right, Flint Westwood. I appreciate the show. Sheds light on a lot. Thank you. That's what we try to do. Steph S. Kufar can tell time. Love you both. Yeah, we were a little late with a little bit of technical trouble, but not significantly late. And we do try to be on time. Arctic based. Hi, Robert and David Wood. Any chance of Jackson Hinkle being prosecuted for aiding and abetting a prescribed terrorist organization? I would have said not a chance, not a single chance in the world before January 20th, 2025. Now I'm not so sure. He might be in for some rough sailing. We'll see.
Yeah, given the people who are in charge of various government agencies and so on now.
Indeed.
Yeah, unless he's actually undercover working for them for some reason, it would not shock me to see this guy get in trouble.
I wouldn't be in the least surprised if he were working for them also.
That
But
that
anyway,
wouldn't surprise me either.
yes. Nobelia SF, thank you. And we had Rick Martel already about humiliation.
Very
And
rude.
it's worth noting that that is what debates are all about for Islamic apologists. They want to humiliate the
Humiliating.
opponent in light of the command to make the kuffar feel themselves subdued in the Quran. So you humiliate the kuffar, that's a way to do that. And so even if you just spend the whole debate insulting the opponent and saying how stupid and evil he is, then they go away saying they won the debate because they achieved their goal of humiliating the opponent. Romology, yep.
Now the issue that has arisen very recently is basically everyone's caught on to their tactics now, and everyone knows, oh, okay, we'll debate, and you want to start insulting, we're just going to insult your stupid fake prophet, and now they don't want to debate anymore because it doesn't work. Oopsie, we don't know what to do if we can't just get them to stand there while we insult them, and they don't insult in return. We have no plan B, so we just won't debate anymore.
Beautiful. The Australian nurses, says Romology, have been charged. Yeah, I meant to get to them and didn't, but you all are aware, I'm sure, of the two Australian Muslim nurses who were on a video with an Israeli, and they were boasting about how they killed Jewish patients. Morphine was even found in one of their lockers, and they've been charged, but that is all still ongoing. And we will be covering it as it goes on. What's noteworthy is that 80 Muslim organizations in Australia came to their defense and said they were victims of Islamophobia. Always the victims.
I see your true colors shining through. Mm-hmm.
The White Trash Panda, congrats on monetization. Welcome back. Glad to see you beat Allah's curse once again.
That's what we do.
And this is a good one from Rhino PKC. Please accept my jizya. Well, now I have to slap you on the back of the neck or spit into your mouth. I don't know. Maybe we'll just leave it there.
You got all the pastors. You you got to grab them by the beard and so, guys. These are actual things from Sharia and so on. How you humiliate them and they have to. The unbelievers, the Christians have to bring you the jizya on their knees and stuff like this, holding their face down, and you're supposed to, the ruler's supposed to grab them by the beard and punch them in the face as they're taking the jizya and so on.
That's it. The idea is to see it's tied in with 929. Pay the jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. They have to pay the jizya, and the feel themselves subdued is part of that. So a lot of the commentators take that as meaning you have to make them feel subdued as they're paying it. So you have to humiliate them in that moment. So you can't just write a check and send it in the mail. Tezbot, good to see you both. Heard Arab, Muslim, and Jew talking of reconciliation because of Isaac and Ishmael. Pipe dream? Yeah. Please pray for UK. Okay.
Yeah. To be clear, guys, you can always have a Muslim or even like Muslim leaders in certain countries and stuff like that who actually want to get along. It's just at the end of the day, they still serve a prophet who called for Jews to be slaughtered, and so you're always going to have that. And it's kind of more dangerous. Like it's kind of more dangerous that you'll have people who want to get along with Jews than it would be if everyone just wanted to go after, if all the jihadis just wanted to go after the Jews and so on. In other words, it's if all of Islam were violent and radical, it would be much easier for people to get their minds around that this is very, very bad. But when you have people who don't actually follow it, or they lay aside certain things for their own plans and so on, it allows Western leaders and journalists to go, look, but these guys want to get along with us, so Islam can't be bad. And It's just it actually makes it more dangerous than less.
Remember Tamerlan Tsarnaev, the Boston Marathon bomber, and he had a Jewish friend that he was very close to. But as he grew more devout and decided to go on jihad, he murdered him and covered it up, made it look like a drug deal gone bad. And Smart. The cops didn't even link it to him until after the Boston Marathon bombing. But anyway, there was also an incident like that in Houston where a Muslim was friends with a Jew. He ended up murdering him, and he ran out of the place saying, I have killed my Jew, now I have a place in paradise. So you got to be careful about this sort of thing. But yes, David is right. There, obviously, not every Muslim is motivated entirely by Islam in all of his human dealings. And so you might actually have a real friendship with some guy. But if he's devout and knowledgeable, be careful. Fatwad, did you hear about town in Essex being imposed 800 asylum seekers, more than the population of the quaint village? Yes, that has happened more than one place. And it just shows the authorities in Britain and in Western Europe, they seem to be at war with their own people.
And they don't care because they don't bring the asylum seekers into their own areas, right? They live in the politicians live in all these nice wealthy areas, and they don't bring people in. They impose it on the rest of the population. That's why they don't care.
Indeed. Brother Nate, just a friendly reminder to my fellow patrons, The Critical Quran is an excellent book. Thank you, Brother Nate. Buy it to support Robert and to attain powerful knowledge. Appreciate that. You can get The Critical Quran at Amazon. It was just actually making a number of corrections to typos and a few other things that are in there. So I think it's available now, but I'm not entirely sure, but it should be available soon. A clean typo-free version. So if that's the sort of thing that if typos bug you as much as they bug me, then you will be wanting to run, don't walk, and get that. Ruthie says, the poetry had a Canadian edge to it, eh? I come for the poetry. What was Canadian about the... Let me get out of the trash here. I don't have a poem today.
The whole thing was dripping...
Too much bad news. Yes?
The whole thing was dripping in maple syrup for some reason.
I don't know. I don't get the Canadian connection, but thank you, Ruthie. And we have Bo Rudder saying, a Christian man married to a Muslim woman? Yeah, that's the William Tell thing. And of course it's ridiculous because Islamic law forbids that. Doesn't mean it never happens. But when William Tell is the producers are trying to show how much they love Muslims and wanting to make some kind of point for diversity, they shouldn't make unforced errors like that. Juris Doctor, panic over failures of liberalism? Churchill didn't. Okay, very good. Snudgewick, chitty bang bang ref posh posh traveling life DW. Yes,
that's correct.
Thank you. And Ruth, why do you think so many Western Muslims are ignorant about what the Quran teaches about jihad? Speaking as a Christian with a close Muslim friend. They might not be ignorant. They might be lying to you. The other possibility is that they don't know Arabic, because most Muslims today are not Arabs. And if they don't know Arabic, they recite Quran without knowing necessarily what it means. And if jihad is not taught in their mosque, which it might not be, they might really not know about it.
And you do have Muslim leaders who tell people what they want them to know at certain times. And historically, jihad proceeds in stages. What are Muslims supposed to be doing if they're in a place like the United States, where Muslims make up around 1% of the population? Are they supposed to be out subjugating the population and so on? No, they're supposed to be promoting peace and tolerance, because that's what's in the best interest of the Muslim community. So you could have people who completely, and I know that there are plenty of Muslims out there who believe Islam's a religion of peace and tolerance, because some of them become Christians and they don't say afterwards, oh, I was actually trying to murder you in the name of Allah the entire time, and so on. So, yeah, you have people who believe it, and you have leaders and scholars who know what Islam actually teaches, but they tell the Muslim population what the Muslim population in that area is supposed to know at a certain time.
And
with the understanding that that message can change as the percentage changes.
Daniel Pipes once told me that he thought that was leading to a problem in the Islamic community in the U.S., because he thought that a lot of the young Muslims, having been told all their lives that Islam is a religion of peace, they really believed it. And so it was kind of reform by means of deception, that the leaders were lying to the kuffar so long, they ended up fooling their own people. And I thought that's an interesting point.
Yeah, it's in theory, but I think he has underestimated how quickly you can just be told some new message and the switch will flip instantly.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Michael Feldman, thanks for what you do, Mr. Spencer. Thank you, Michael Feldman. And Goat Hub says, based. Thank you, Mr. Hub. John Davis. Jihad Watch, hold on. There it is. Jihad Watch's Super Chats. I haven't felt this way since Funky Town came out. Thanks, John. Miriam says, my two favorite Islamophobes. Gosh, thanks, Miriam. Satiric Games. Satiric Games says, what's the trajectory looking like right now? Australia is stuffed, but one of the Muslim nurses was charged, so something, I guess. Yeah, it's very bad, though, but you never know, like we were saying before. It ain't over. Snudgewick, I vote Robert to be our Prime Minister. I accept. I will accept. If I am elected Prime Minister of Great Britain, I will serve. Budfeed UK. Wish you could both come to the UK. Weren't you banned last week? Is this what I hear?
Yep.
So we're both banned now.
We are both currently banned from the United Kingdom.
We should go to right outside British territory and make a video.
And moon them.
David, you helped me come back to Christianity after years of atheism. Thank you, Robert, for all you do. Da Dizzle. There you go. General Allahu Akbar, which is kind of like General Butt Naked. General Allahu Akbar, you will be humiliated. Well, we'll see. True. Andrew Kaufman, love your books, Robert. Thank you, Andrew. God bless you. And you too. Sacred Histories says, Robert, I'm on your side. Mo was at best a mixture of stories and characters designed to serve as the much-needed prophetic figure for a newly created religion. I like that idea. I think you're onto something there, Sacred. Apostate of Allah. I want a Gaza Maga golf course. Gaza Maga golf course. I'd be super happy.
Yeah, me and AP have already agreed. Me and AP have never played golf. We played mini golf, but actual golf. But if that actually gets transformed into a big golf course, you can join us, Robert. We're all going to go there and play our first actual round of golf.
Oh yeah, I'm all over it. Okay, CO says if you don't want to see what's happening, don't come in without knocking. Even if you hear loud clapping, just know that I'm only napping. I don't know what that's all about, but okay.
Get used to it, Robert. Get used to it.
Is this something that happens on these?
This happens in Super Chats.
Paolo Lungaro, DW, if I can find you a Muslim to debate you, what topics would you like to cover?
Was Muhammad a true prophet?
Okay, then. Yeah, it's funny how they never want to debate that. They never want to debate. Hey,
Yeah, if they actually believed they had a case, all they should want to debate is, was Muhammad a true prophet, and is the Quran the word of Allah? That's it, right?
Yeah.
'Cause if you win either one of those, you win. You win every debate, right? You've proven that your religion is true. If you prove that Muhammad's a prophet, or you prove that the Quran is the word of Allah, you win. Those are the topics they never in a million years want to cover. Why? They just know they got nothing. They
It's
know
wild.
it. And all this stuff that they use in their little videos, oh, the scientific miracles and all this stuff, and they won't step on stage and defend that. They know it'd be destroyed.
Hmm. Hippo character. Oh, this is another one of those stickers.
Super
Okay.
stickers.
Thank you, EGATs. And super. This is what is this? Kari. It's too small to see. Anyway, David seems very optimistic about apostasy rates increasing. Are you? Thanks for your work. Yeah, I am.
Yeah,
Um,
there's no doubt that apostasy rates are going to increase, ladies and gentlemen. So it was like what, 5 years ago, where we found out that 24% of Muslim youth are leaving Islam and so on. But
mhm.
keep in mind, that's 24%. If you go back 15, 20 years, it was close to 0%. So what happened? There's all this stuff that people didn't know about, and all of a sudden, Muslims around the world started finding out about this stuff. And what happened? The apostasy rates went from close to 0% to 24%. You
There you go.
you don't have to be a mathematician to look at that and go, oh, this is what happens when a bunch of people find out what Islam actually teaches. And so it's
Mhm.
going to accelerate. It's just how high can we go? That is the question. Let's get it to 100.
Refusal to pay jizya, homophobic or Islamophobic? I don't know what the referent is there. Best book by Robert Spencer. Well, what is the best book by Robert Spencer? I
History of
can't.
Jihad.
Is it History of Jihad?
I've read
Um,
several of your books. I mean, no, you got. I mean, lots of good stuff. I mean, your biography of Muhammad from way back in the day. Uh, I read that. I read that. I read your Religion of Peace book way back in the day. I've read probably 5 or 6 of your books, maybe 6 or
there's
7.
there's lots more to go, man.
Yeah, but I've said this before. Like even when I'm reading like your biography of Muhammad, it's like okay, I'm familiar with all that stuff already. The history
Yes.
of jihad, I know the stuff that happened at the beginning because you're talking about Muhammad, and from the time of the caliphs, I knew that, and and when you get to the time of ISIS, but almost everything in between was new information, and that I've told you before, it was like whoa, it finally clicked as to how relentless it's been. It's never let
Yeah.
up. We just forget about it. Every
And they have
generation
no response to
forgets about
that.
it.
The
Yeah.
Dawa guys have never dealt with that because nobody's talked about it. And so I remember Asadullah started a video series saying, I'm going to refute this book, History of Jihad. And he started out by criticizing the Muhammad chapter, the Quran chapter, and then he stopped. He had nothing to say about all the history. And what could he say? So where were we? That was Christian theology, right? So this is Unicorn 1620. Congrats on monetization. Alhamdulillah. Thank you. Aisha's goat says, "Boom! It's Ramadan tomorrow. Is it Ramadan tomorrow already? Really?
I
Man,
thought it's Saturday. Isn't it
snuck up
Saturday?
on me. Either way, it snuck up on me. I guess because I've kind of been out of it." Moshe Cohen, Daoud, should I QR code his History of Jihad Amazon link? That could be fun in my next rotation. Stay safe, Robert, doing the Lord's work. Thank you.
I don't know. You might want to find like maybe to his website or something that people can use. I don't imagine them ordering the book. Robert Mosh is over in Israel, and he goes into the West Bank and stuff, and he puts QR codes that people click on. They don't
Oh,
know what it is, so they click on it with their camera, and it like sends them to a video about Muhammad or something like that. So it's pretty fun
oh,
idea.
that's beautiful. That's great. More power to you there, my friend. And Mary Jo, thank you very much. And I guess that's all of them. So very exciting, folks. Thank you very much for all of your support and kindness once again. And we hope to be less full of coughs and so on next week if there's any jihad. If there is, of course, we'll be there. Until then, pray, hope, and don't worry.